is Secret-2. Give it back. We were 6 at the time, standing in our school playground. She was crying and I was standing in front of her, ready to shield her from any harm. Aiden and his gang were not only bothering us now, they didn't even leave us when we were little kids. Here, get it from us, said Aiden in a mocking baby voice. He held up the doll tauntingly in front of us, which he had snatched from Samantha. I tried to grab it, but he just kept on laughing at me. I finally lost it. I punched Aiden and we started to roll on the ground, hitting each other. His goons and the surrounding kids were cheering us on. Aiden! Aiden! They cheered on. I smacked him, kicked him, and punched him as much as I could. He did the same to me. Pretty soon we were both seriously injured. Sam had run off to get the teacher. Knock it off, you two, Mrs. Patterson said as she forcefully broke us apart. What in the world do you think you two are doing? Aiden and I just stared at each other angrily as the teacher looked at both of us for an answer. I had gotten a purple eye and my face was bleeding. Aiden looked like his nose was broken. He started it, I said, pointing at him. Violence is not the only way to solve things, James. Apologize to him. Now, she said, looking at me. No way, I retorted. James? Okay, I'm sorry, Aiden, I said, not really meaning it. James, say it properly. I sighed. I'm sorry, Aiden, I repeated, a little like I meant it this time. Aiden? I'm sorry, James. Okay, good. Now return Sam's doll to her. He handed the doll to Sam. Now go off and play. If I see you two fighting with each other again, then I won't be as gentle as this time. And what are you kids looking at? Run off! We parted our ways, now on the complete opposite ends of the playground. I and Aiden exchanged our final angry glances at each other. That was so cool, James. Thanks for sticking up for me, Sam said excitedly as she looked at me. Of course, Sam. We're best friends, aren't we? I said, proudly puffing up my chest. Well, duh we are. Pinky promised me we'll always stick up for each other, she said as she held out her little finger, waiting eagerly. I held out my pinky finger at once. Pinky promise. Yeah, I can't wait. I've already thought of all the places I want to go to, I said excitedly as I licked my vanilla ice cream, hopping around like a little girl who was promised candy. I looked at James, expecting him to say something, but he was just walking quietly, looking spaced out and smiling to himself, thinking about who knows what. Hello, Earth to James? I said, waving my hand in front of him, kinda annoyed now. He suddenly snapped out of his trance. Sam, what are you doing? He said. Did you even listen to me up till now? I asked. Of course I have. You were talking about, what was it again? He said as he struggled to remember. I knew it. You weren't listening to a word I was saying, were you? What were you thinking about, anyway? It's nothing really. You look adorable when you're annoyed, he said, smiling warmly at me. I blushed. That's beside the point. Okay, whatever, listen carefully now. We finally parted our ways as we departed for the day. After coming back to my senses after that flashback of when we were little kids like 10 years ago, I had actually paid attention to what Sam was saying. She was talking about the trip she was going to have with her family to another country. She had been waiting for this trip the whole summer. There was a week left of our summer holidays and she was finally going to leave tomorrow. She'd missed the first day of school though. I kicked a rock as my house grew bigger and bigger as I walked towards it. I had sworn to myself that I would tell her, but I just couldn't. I sighed to myself as I entered my house. Mom, I'm home, I yelled. Welcome home, dear, she yelled back. I've made your favorite meal today. Go wash your hands, she said. I was spaced out even at dinner. I played around with my food, looking at it thoughtfully. Who could I talk to this about? I thought to myself. It would be way too awkward to talk about it to my parents. Then I got it. Mr. Johnson. Take your time, boy. Love is a complicated thing, especially when it's your first one. Take Mrs. Johnson here. It took me months to walk up the courage to tell her how I felt. So I can only imagine how you're feeling right now, he said as he patted me on the back. I knew you'd say something like that, Mr. Johnson. But it's not just that. What if she feels different and only sees me as her friend? What if it will make things awkward between us and she doesn't want to be friends with me anymore? What if... Whoa, chill with the what ifs there, kid. Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow and let things take their natural course. And even if the things you said might happen, there's still plenty of fish in the sea. I don't know, Mr. Johnson. We've been close friends since we were kids and I started developing feelings for her recently. I don't want things to change between us if she doesn't feel the same way, I said, worried, cupping my face in my hands. It's your choice, boy. As I said, take your time. But in my opinion, you should tell Sam how you feel. If you don't, you'll probably regret it for your whole life. And someone else will come and tell her. We sat there in silence. I thought deeply about his words for a few minutes and finally got up. It was great talking to you, Mr. Johnson, I said. Anytime, my boy. So that's the end of this story, guys. What do you think of this story? Write down in the comment section. But before you do that, I have to tell you the takeaway, right? The takeaway of this story is that if you are going to make a relationship with someone, you better ask someone whom you trust about your feelings first. So that's the main takeaway of this story. See you next time, guys. Bye.